internet has changed the way we buy and listen to music. It all started with Napster, the online file-sharing service that allowed computer users around the world to swap music for free. That was almost 10 years ago. Since then, the music industry itself has struggled to keep up. But now it's got a new strategy. Instead of using the internet to advertise songs for sale, the industry wants to use the music as a vehicle for ads. Zulfikar Abani reports.
Every night in my dreams.
As with so much else in pop music, like love songs and disco dancing, Napster has become a bit of a cliche. But the unavoidable fact is that it did give birth to the internet as we know it today, as a place where so-called virtual communities can thrive, where people can swap ideas, their own and other people's too. It also exposed the internet as a kind of black hole, legally speaking. And the American rock band Metallica made a point of that, by at first threatening to sue every individual user, and then by taking Napster to court.
If we have to start knocking on doors and have to go in and confiscating hard drives in people's homes, so be it.
That was in the year 2000, and a lot's happened since then. First, Napster was closed down, and the world's major record labels began a campaign against the internet, accusing it of killing music and stealing from the artists.
The record companies want to control the industry. They want the media, the distribution, the artists. For 40, 50 years, they've had that control, and downloads has kind of changed the whole game, and they don't know how to respond to it. And so what they are doing is saying it's a negative thing.
But the internet's been good for some small retailers and some independent or indie labels. It's the major labels that are struggling to keep up. In fact, in the last 5 years, the one company that's made any real money selling music on the internet has been a computer company, Apple, with its iTunes store.
When I used to run an indie label, we didn't have worldwide distribution, but iTunes took it to the world. So, and we found that when people downloaded a track, they only downloaded one track, but when they wanted the physical album, they went to our website and bought it. So we sold a lot overseas. Half of our sales on our website went overseas.
So far, the major labels have failed to set up their own online services, and they're having to go through companies like iTunes to sell their product instead. But they're unhappy about the amount of money that Apple, through iTunes, keeps for itself, and so they're looking at new strategies.
Our view is that people will be continuing to download music in digital format, but over time more and more content, including music, will be given away for free, but will be wrapped in advertising. So where the content, in fact, becomes the advertising.
Destra acts as a label for artists, but it also provides download services for Australian retailers like JB Hi-Fi. And it'll be expanding its digital platforms in the future.
There's the a la carte model, which is the pay-per-download, similar to what is being offered through iTunes today, to a subscription model where you pay $10 or $20 per month and you have access to all of that music for that month, similar to pay TV, and ultimately a service where the music is free, but it is wrapped in advertising. And ultimately what this means is the consumer will have the choice on how they want to experience music.
Put like that, it's as if music fans have never had the choice before. But the fans have got more control than they might think through phenomena like online communities.
There's a little saying that the record industry is dying, but in fact the music industry is growing, and particularly in Australia, live events are actually growing in popularity quite a lot. So you can say that not only are online communities growing quite rapidly, the offline communities where people are actually getting together and attending events is actually growing very strongly. So I actually think the whole notion of communities is here to stay and will continue growing.
So the power may be shifting away from the big companies and towards the artists. Bands like Radiohead, Nine Inch Nails and the American rapper Saul Williams have all offered their latest music online, without any major backing and to an extent for free. Sales have been falling for 7 years now, so moves like this are making the labels nervous.
And artists and record companies are starting to become a little more creative about how they can monetize their content, and an increasing number of video clips these days that in the early days were used as a way to promote the artists and promote the track are actually now becoming a way to embed advertising inside the actual video clips. So video clips that you'll be looking at will be sponsored by brands.
Whether it's MP3s or CDs, buying new music online is quite convenient, but it's not the full package. And people are again returning to more old-fashioned formats like 12-inch vinyl in their local shops.
From our point of view, like we're selling more vinyl than ever, we're selling more imports than ever, and more local, unsigned indie bands. So what that tells me is that people still want this great music, they're just not being catered for from the major companies, you know. So I don't know, they seem to be too busy fighting battles about downloads and things like that. Like, you just never hear anything, you never actually hear them talk about music.
There's something about flicking through your record collection as opposed to scrolling through your MP3s on an MP3 player. It's a whole lot more part of the overall emotional experience of listening to music. But much more than that, some of the original artwork on these records has become quite important itself. Take, for instance, this. This is Sonic Youth Daydream Nation from about 1989. The original artwork for this, Carosa, by the German artist Gerhard Richter, has just sold at Sotheby's in London for 15 million Australian dollars.
For example, the Strokes album that got banned, or even Guns N' Roses, like Appetite for Destruction. The prudish Americans banned it, and even in Australia, we changed the artwork because it had, you know, it was an illustration and it was nudity. But on the vinyl, they've actually left the original artwork, and so for art collectors, this is, you know, it's fantastic because you've actually got the original artwork, which you can't even buy on a CD. And of course, if you download it, you don't even know what the cover is.
Sure, you may not be looking at the artwork like you were 5 or 10 years ago, but now you're going online and you're looking at, you know, the videos behind the scenes of them actually creating the album, so you're able to get closer and closer to the artist. You're able to interact and chat with other people who are also fans of that particular artist. So I actually think it's definitely multi-dimensional these days.
On that point at least, there's some agreement. The internet has given a lot to the fans, but it may just be time for the major labels to accept that the internet is not for them.
You can go find out about your favourite act, the lyrics, when they're touring, buy their CDs direct from the artist. All that, you know, it's great for fans, and I think that's the thing from a fan's point of view. The record companies can't control the internet. They'll keep trying, but ultimately the fans will always win because they'll you know, find other ways to get the music in contact with the bands that the record companies, you know, can't control.